and welcome to the Jason E. Jones and Chris Allen, and Here We Are podcast.
Time for the Jason E. Jones podcast and the Chris Allen. Those are my men.
He messed up the first intro. The Jason E. Jones and Chris Allen.
And Here We Are podcast.
There we go.
And Here We Are podcast.
Here we are
buddy.
podcast. Oh man.
See, I'm Michael Jackson. He's Jermaine.
I'm so leaving that in. By the way, the fact that we flubbed the name the first time. That is a part of it now forever.
Chris, do you know who Brett Favre is?
Brett Favre is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
He is. He's got a lot of statistics.
Well, he was a great football player. It just turns out he might not be the best person on the planet.
Well, he's got a lot of numbers. There's a lot of numbers out there.
My thing about Brett Favre is he should have been shunned as a whole for what he did with his penis back in the day.
All right.
Do you remember that wonderful scandal he was involved in?
Oh, I remember it. Hey, listen, man. That's the thing too, is I'm not gonna condemn people for what they do in their personal lives. I understand we don't know the whole situation there, but
well, we do. He sent unsolicited pictures of his junk to people who didn't want it.
Right. That's what they say. So I'll put it this way. Well, I say that's fine. I understand, but you never know. You never know what the truth is on that. But yeah, you have a point there to a degree. I'm going to go a different route. So I don't believe in everything that obviously that I hear. So yeah.
Well, that one I actually believe, and I'll explain why, and then we'll move on to his new scandal. She actually released all the text messages, and like it was a perfectly normal conversation, and then suddenly penis.
Suddenly penis.
Which sounds like a movie. It really does.
Suddenly penis.
Suddenly penis. Like you're like, oh, I'm Brett Favre, penis. But so that's what.
Would you like to watch 2 movies tonight? Forrest Hump and Suddenly Penis.
I don't want to watch either one of those movies, but I could see those titles. And with what's coming out now, with what he's done, just shows me like what kind of person Brett Favre is, because he always he had all those Wrangler commercials where he tried to present himself as the American guy. I'm here for the people. You can trust me. Apparently, he can trust you to rob welfare from the poorest state in the country.
Yeah. Well, what I'm reading here is the New York Times, and it says the website for Brett Favre's foundation describes a mission for the charitable organization, the Hall of Fame quarterback, founded in 1995, providing financial aid to groups that provide services to the underdeserved and disabled children in Mississippi and Wisconsin. This stated aim stands in contrast to what Favre has been accused of in his home state, playing a role in the misappropriation of $8 million in public funds intended for welfare recipients. Yeah. So you grew up in Tennessee. I mean, hell, you're in Kentucky. It's not like it's that much of a difference in overall lifestyle. Maybe up towards like Cincinnati and towards Indiana, but overall, Kentucky's a poor state too, to a degree.
Oh yeah.
Think about this for a minute: $8 million. So I'm obviously horrible at math. I mean, I am like. What's the word here? I'm like Joe Biden with math. I'm with math like Joe Biden is running the country.
So you're great at math.
Oh boy. Anyway, no, not so much. In my opinion, opinion. But no, I was just thinking of a horrible thing. Like I'm pathetic in math. I started at an early age. Blah blah blah. Da da da. I am not good at math at all. I try to avoid math like like the chick that tries to get you to hang out with her and she smells. So we'll just leave it at that. But $8 million was misappropriated. And somehow those funds went from the welfare. And again, yeah, the poorest state in the United States, Mississippi. I mean, the poorest state, $8 million. Now, think about this for a minute. Most families that are on food stamps or welfare bring in probably an average of $400 to $700 a month in food stamps, maybe. So think about how many families. You're probably good at math. Think about how many families that would be.
I mean,
that $8 million would affect.
Probably every single family that needed welfare in the state. Let's just be realistic. And it's the reason he did it that bothers me the most. You know, if he had like taken the money and was using it for something besides welfare that was actually needed or something, maybe. But he convinced the governor or whoever it was to do it, and the university, so they could build a volleyball stadium at his daughter's college, who's on the volleyball team.
Oh, good.
Like, come on, man. You yourself, Mr. Brett Favre, are worth $100-something million. Like, you're loaded. You could have just bought the stadium yourself, done a commercial, and done. It would have been over. But you wanted the state to pay for it, which that's fine. You want the state to pay for it, that's fine.
But it's worth $100 million.
But it's worth $100 million. But you're telling me that you used the welfare fund? Really? Like, there was no other place to get the money? You couldn't ask for donations? Y'all couldn't have done a car wash? Something?
Wash. Car wash. Yeah, let's do. How many car washes would that take to build a volley? I didn't even know they made volleyball stadiums.
Apparently, they're not gonna.
Yeah,
they got caught.
Can you imagine that? Car wash, only $4,000 today to get your car washed.
But you say that, and I did say it as a joke, but if you actually thought about it, how much would Green Bay Packers fans and Minnesota Vikings fans pay if Brett Favre actually washed your car?
It would be more, definitely, Green Bay fans and also Southern Miss, because he's a legend there.
Right. So if he actually did a car wash and involved himself was there and like meted all the people and stuff.
That is pretty damn funny though, a car wash.
Yeah, I'm kind of proud of that one.
And guys, do you have change for $5,000?
Right?
Oh yeah, hold on 1 second.
Like, I think that's the part about the story though that does literally bother me the most. First of all, he could have just paid for it himself. I could understand. I mean, he is worth $100 million. Taken out, it ended up being a grand total of $20 million. So that would have been a good chunk of his net worth. So I could dig him not wanting to use that. But you're Brett Favre. You can generate money easily. You could have he could probably have done a tweet asking all his NFL buddies and stuff, hey, this school really needs this, and left out the fact that his daughter was on the team, and raised the money without robbing the welfare. There was so many other ways he could have done this, but he took the easy, cheapest, crappiest way out, and now he's trying to say, well, I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't know it was wrong. I didn't know it was illegal. But as always in today's world, the text got out, and the person he was doing this with, there's text on it, hey, we can't let anybody know where this money came from. It'll be a big scandal. That's in the text that were released.
He was also, look at this. Brett Favre earned nearly $140 million as a starting quarterback in the NFL over 2 decades, and millions more in product endorsements. But that didn't stop the state of Mississippi from paying Favre $1.1 million in 2017 and 18 to make motivational speeches, which he never made. That's another thing. I mean, it just is worse and worse. You're supposed to be out there inspiring people with your stories, and you're not even making these I mean, this is just, there's no way around this. You are a scumbag.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that one. Really?
Yeah, he was paid 1.1 million in 2017 and 18 to make motivational speeches out of federal welfare funds intended for needy families. The Mississippi State auditor said Favre never gave the speeches and demanded the money back with interest.
Good. That's ridiculous. I mean, good that they demanded the money back, but look, all right. I like to talk. You like to talk. We obviously both like to talk. We run.
Well, I mean, this is a podcast. We can't exactly stand here and do sign. I don't even do sign language.
Yeah,
I've already pissed off now the sign language people.
I ain't pissed them off. We don't know sign language. They rather us be honest and pretend. Besides, they can't listen.
Oh God. Okay. All right. Well. Anyway.
But if you're paying me $1.2 million to give a speech, I'm giving the speech. Like, how hard is it? Like, we want you to come talk. Cool. I'm gonna come talk. I'll say whatever you want. I'll read the script that you want. Oh, I'm a horrible person. I'm just...
So yeah, we're moving on. He repaid the $228,000 in interest. He repaid the fees, but not the $228,000 in interest the auditor also demanded. But the revelation by the auditor that $70 million in TANF welfare funds were doled out to a multi-millionaire athlete, a professional wrestler, a horse farm, and a volleyball complex are at the heart of the scandal that has rocked the nation's poorest state.
Yeah, like, wow. Man, I thought he was a decent dude, like, but when he played football, I thought he was decent because he was a great football player. But it just goes to show, like, don't just assume somebody's good in the sport and says the right thing while they're playing that they're good people. Like
absolutely not. Just because you're good at a sport does not make you a good person.
Like. He faked it almost the entire time he was in the NFL, and he made his money. Now he needs to go to jail. This is fraud.
Oh, I agree. No, he needs to go to prison.
Oh yeah, but what's going to happen is he's going to pay back the money. He's going to chip off, whatever amount it was. He's going to pay some fines, and he's going to go back to his mansion and go, well, oops.
Well, let me tell you something. I was down there a year ago when I went on my little escapade to Austin. It ended up not going the way I planned, but everything happens for a reason. I go down to that area where he's from, and he is from, my brain don't even want to think about it now because it used to be Killen, Mississippi, which is down on the coast, right on that Louisiana. It's about, I don't know, it's not far off from New Orleans. And I went there to see Brett Favre and everything, and it was amazing how I asked about Brett Favre, and people acted like they didn't want to talk about it. Of course you don't want to talk about it. Look what he's been doing.
Right? Like, when you're a big star like that and the people in your hometown don't want to talk about you, that's a sign. You're a dirtbag. And my thing is, he has this charity. You were just mentioning it. But what is his charity pulled off? Is it actually doing good? Because that's what I want to know. I want a full investigation into his charity. I want a full investigation into all of his money and finance and everything if anything he's claiming he's done. I want them to go at this guy full bore.
Well, how in the hell does government funds get involved into creating and building a volleyball stadium and other things? I just don't understand it.
Well, that's actually fairly normal.
Government funds
going towards building stadiums for universities, going towards, no NFL team pays for their own stadium. The city builds it.
You're right. But I guess I'm just, this whole thing is just
Well,
such a slap in the face.
it is, but here's the catch with that. This is where government funds going towards it is normal. Welfare funds going towards it is not. There's generally a vote or like a separate tax or money they've set aside for it, like money voted for, appropriated just for this reason, right? It's not, oh, well, we're going to go rob the poor people to build a stadium for some people who will never go to the stadium because they're poor.
Right.
Like that's where this thing comes from. It's not so much that they were using government money; it's the government money they used. And Brett Favre initially saying, "Well, he didn't know the money was coming from the welfare," when it turns out he did know. And had it been a state like California or a state like Maine or say Florida, where there isn't, they're not the poorest states, maybe it wouldn't have been such a big stink about it. They would have just swept it more on the rug. But the fact that he did this literally to the poorest state, the state that has the most struggle, is where the lot of it comes in. But my thought process with that is, if anybody in any state is taking welfare money for a luxury item, I don't care what the luxury item is. If it's a stadium, if it's a pretty new government building, if it's something that we don't really need, the welfare money should go strictly to welfare projects, welfare people, food banks.
Listen to this. So I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called The Best That Never Was. Marcus Dupree. Marcus Dupree is arguably one of the most talented running backs, athletes in the history of the United States. He set records and did things that were incredible, and went to Oklahoma and then got involved with the wrong kind of people and this and that. He's involved in this. Him and former wrestler Ted DiBiase is involved in this. They were given, at least $3 million went to Ted DiBiase, a retired professional wrestler. Marcus Dupree, a former college football star, also received $370,000 in welfare funds, which prosecutors say partly went to fund his horse ranch. Paul Lacoste, who is current governor's athletic trainer, was paid $300,000 in welfare funds to run a fitness boot camp for legislators. What? A fitness boot camp for legislators?
Wow. Yeah, like whoever's in charge of this fund, like the government people who are in charge of this.
Mississippi is jacked up.
Like, yeah, it's just, and so this whole, like, Brett Favre's to blame, Ted DiBiase, the other guy, they're all to blame, but the person signing the check still had to sign the checks. That's a government person.
Oh yeah, there's such a paper trail here with how many people that are involved in this, and they all should be going to prison.
Every one of them. And now it comes down to who's going to go to prison for the longest, and it'll probably be the government person, which honestly, you know what? If me and you walk into a government building like, hey, you should give us $100 million to fund our podcast, and they laugh us out of the building, we didn't actually do anything wrong but ask.
Yeah.
But if they signed us a check from, oh yeah, here's $100 million from the welfare fund, go build your podcast, well, we're going to get in trouble at that point for taking the money, but they should be more trouble for going, well, yeah, here, take the money.
Well, the sad part about it is the fact that they tried to do this quietly, reach out to Favre, and I guess reach out to DiBiase, Dupree, and Lacoste, and try to do this privately. And I guess that all, from what I understand, especially Brett Favre, let's just work on Brett Favre here. Brett Favre said absolutely not. So he repaid what borrowed, but they said that the auditor said there was $228,000 in interest, and he refused to pay that. That was a separate thing. I mean, the fact that he did this, the fact that he would do this, and somebody that's worth, let's be honest here. So if he's worth $100 million, that's all of his assets, that's his home, that's everything. So he's probably, what would you say? Oh, hell, I'm not even going to go there. He's worth millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, $100 million. But the fact that he did this, is just such a slap in the face. And what it makes me do now is it makes me go, I can't look at him the same.
No.
You just can't. You don't look at the Monday Night Football, and you know how big of a sports fan I am. The Monday Night Football game when his dad had just passed away, and he goes out there in front of the country and plays one of the best games of his life. It just changes everything. It changes Billy Bob Thornton's documentary about him, talking about a kid from Kill, Mississippi. You know what? He's no longer these things because now he is connected to this.
Oh, yeah.
This is such a black mark on, it's beyond a black mark on who he is and his legacy. I mean, if you're a Packers fan, how can you look at this guy the same?
And the bad part is they will. It's
You're right.
It's one of the disgusting things in sports. Like, I don't do it, and I know you probably don't either. It's where they hero worship so much that it doesn't matter. As long as it's good for their team, they don't care. I'm disgusted with the Browns right now for the deal they gave Deshaun Watson.
Here, I got you. And as a Browns fan, it's funny you bring that up. Is that like I watched them play today, and as far as getting to talking about football, I mean they have a bad defense. They have a quarterback that's a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They lost today. Yeah, I mean it was like the worst deal ever. They gave up how many first round draft picks, and this is on the athletic sports side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how can you? It's hard to be a woman. It's hard to be a woman. It's hard to look at women and respect them and show them respect when you're supporting something like this.
Yeah, I mean, and this is where I'm at with this kind of thing. Where I won't say I wouldn't quit watching football, but I'm a giant Tennessee Titans fan. I've been a Tennessee Titans fan since the day the Tennessee Titans moved into Nashville and became the Tennessee Titans. They were the Oilers for the first year. I was fans when they were Oilers, when they changed them. I'm a big fan. I've got $1,000 worth of jerseys. I've got a couple $100 worth of hats. I have gone to several games.
Mm-hmm.
If Tennessee signed a person like Brett Favre or Deshaun Watson or what was the other one that went crazy here recently? Antonio Brown, and brought that kind of person onto the team, I would still watch football, but I wouldn't watch any more Tennessee Titan games. As long as that same regime was in charge, the people who brought that person into the game. I want my team to have a certain level of integrity. And I think everything because of this, Brett Favre has done is now completely tainted. The Super Bowl wins, everything. It's done. There should be a plaque next to his bust in the Hall of Fame saying what a scumbag he is. And I don't know how, once Deshaun Watson plays, I don't know how anybody watches a Browns game as a Browns fan and cheers for him. Anything he does for the rest of his career is tainted. If he does well enough to make it.
As a Browns fan, it is tough. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I know people who are perfectly okay with it. They're like, he's going to make us a winner. I'm like, at what cost?
No, I'm not perfectly okay with it.
Well, no, not you. I'd say I know some people who are.
I'm just saying I'm not perfectly okay with it.
Yeah. Like, and I'm just like, that's not okay. Just like everything Michael Vick done should be tainted. You know, people give Tom Brady a hard time, and by all means, I hate Tom Brady. But the worst thing he ever did was supposedly deflate some footballs, and he gets more crap than these people do.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Football fans sometimes, like, so there's going to be people who are Green Bay fans are going to be like, yeah, Brett Favre's still the greatest quarterback of all time. And he's not. He may have been a great football player, but he is not a great person. There should be a special wing in the Hall of Fame for scumbags.
Well, yeah, and O.J. Simpson would be there. I mean, Marvin Harrison, for God's sakes, shot and killed somebody, and it was covered up. I mean, it was.
Now, if I recall that story correctly, wasn't it in self-defense?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, okay. Am I thinking of somebody else? Because I know there's
And
another play.
you may be right from what I remember though.
Yeah. Well, there's been a couple NFL players involved in shooting, and I remember one guy, they literally ended up dismissing the entire case because it was determined the other guy was shooting at him first at some bar. So I might be confusing stories. I'm not perfect.
Well, what allegedly, and again, the truth is we don't really know anything. I mean, who knows if we could ask God or whoever, whatever you believe in, if you could go to God or go to a genie or whatever and ask them to show you what's really going on in this world, we would fall over and throw up, because we'd probably have a heart attack, because we don't see what really is happening. We go by, and the more and more I talk about it, the more and more I believe I'm more in the middle of the road, no pun intended for the name of our show that we had. But it's just amazing that there's just so much going on as human beings that people do, and we have no clue what they're doing.
Oh yeah, none. And we can try to change and try to do better, but I disagree with one thing you just said. Honestly, if they showed me everything that's actually going on in the world right now, I wouldn't fall over and vomit. And I probably wouldn't even be shocked to be go, So it's a little worse than I thought, but I kind of expected that. Like, well, I'm so jaded at this point. I'd be like, oh, yeah.
I'm with you, too. I'm completely with you. I do want to talk about in 2009, Marvin Harrison. I got this off of Bleacher Report. Take that for what it is. Each article that's written by a platform, I guess you would say, Bleacher Report or whatever. But Marvin Harrison was involved in 2 separate altercations with a known drug dealer in Philadelphia because the former Indianapolis Colts receiver wouldn't allow him into the sports bar that he owned. Later that day, Dwight Dixon was shot multiple times by a gun owned by Marvin Harrison. A lack of evidence disabled the ability of the DA to press charges. Less than 4 months later, Dixon was shot and killed blocks away from a car that was owned by Harrison. I mean, Marvin Harrison is a Hall of Famer.
Right.
There you go. And then my beloved University of Tennessee, Leonard Little. People will not like this, but this is the podcast, and we're getting into Brett Favre opened up. He made the cake, and now we're going to eat on the cake, and we're going to get into, the University of Tennessee, Leonard Little. It is well known what Leonard Little did, especially to people my age and our age. Little crashed his car into Susan Gutweiler, killing her immediately. He was sentenced to 4 years probation and 1,000 hours community service. Now, if that had been anybody else, do you think they would have got the same thing?
No. Heck no. No.
6 years later, Little was arrested on suspicion of driving drunk after he failed multiple sobriety tests. He later admitted drinking and was sentenced to 2 years probation. Now, listen, the thing about this podcast is we're just on here to talk about stuff. Now, I understand. I'm a beyond huge Tennessee fan. But when the truth is the truth, you can't get around it. No. I know a lot of VFLs would be pissed off at me to hear me talking like this, but this is the truth. He took somebody's life, and he got 4 years of probation and 1,000 hours of community service.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. And, because anybody else would have been charged with, especially being drunk, vehicular homicide, it'd be doing 10 years.
Yeah. It just on and on. Ray Lewis, there was a lot of people that are younger don't know about this deal where Ray Lewis was involved. He was involved in a crime and a murder. So, the thing about it is, and I wasn't there, and Ray Lewis, he was found not guilty.
Yeah, but the thing about Ray Lewis, and he actually went to trial and was found not guilty in a trial, and they went at him pretty hard. The area he was in, they actually really tried hard. He didn't get special. The jury found him not guilty. And they tried really hard to make sure that the prosecutors, they tried to get a non-biased jury. So I'm not saying I'm giving him a pass, but they tried really hard to get him, and there wasn't enough evidence. So I don't think he got any special treatment because, like, the stuff with Marvin Harrison, that didn't even go to trial.
Right. No, it didn't. No, you're right.
Literally went to trial, and he got off. He got found guilty, but got nothing sentenced. Ray Lewis, I give him a little more leeway because they went at him. Them prosecutors, they at that point really wanted to bust a football player for some reason. They were going hard in the paint, and they couldn't do it. There wasn't enough evidence. So I'm not saying he's innocent. I'm just saying Ray Lewis didn't get the pass that some of these other people get. That I think Brett Favre is going to end up getting, because that's what's going to happen. Brett Favre's going to pay a fine, and this is going to be over.
My point is our biggest heroes sometimes are not the greatest people. That's my point.
Yes.
My point is that people that we look up to and we admire. I mean, hell, let's take a look at the mid-'90s Nebraska Cornhuskers. All the incidents involved in that team with rape and sexual assault and all kinds of stuff. And the community and the university just turned a blind eye to it. They just turned a blind eye to it because it was going after something they loved. And that is the thing about it is, do you want to see justice, or do you want to turn your head and continue to worship something that we worship?
No, and that's why I said, like, if Tennessee was assigned any kind of player like that, like, I'd be out. Like, there's that punter this year who got signed out of a university, and I don't know his name, and I can't remember the team, but
right.
it came out that he was involved, possibly. They're still investigating, so I'm going to say possibly because there's investigating, and they'd used a really high round draft pick on him, and as soon as the team found out that he was involved in this, they cut him. He's not playing in the NFL because they're saying he might be involved in a gang rape, and I'm like, not good.
No.
And so some teams are actually getting better about this now, and hopefully, as a society, we can get better about this. Because hero worship is all well and good, but once your hero falls, man, let him fall. Get a new hero. Look up to somebody better. There is plenty of great players in every single sports to look up to. I mean, besides the
Well, has there
been
two greater examples than Michael Vick and O.J. Simpson? I mean, people aren't aware, again, that are younger. O.J. Simpson was the Tom Brady before he did what he did. Yeah. He couldn't do wrong. He was on. He was an announcer. He color. He was a color analyst on NBC.
He was
movies.
Yeah, not good movies,
TV
but movies.
shows. Well, Naked Gun's pretty good. I think it is for what it is. It's not Gone with the Wind, but I mean, it was a funny movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a part of. He did so many things. He did commercials. I mean, he was America's sweetheart, and then what happened with him, and to this day, let's be honest, folks. I mean, if the gloves don't fit, you must have quit. That is the biggest bunch of garbage ever. And there's no way in the world that man did not commit that murder.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. And then switching around to Michael Vick. Michael Vick was arguably, I mean, he wasn't on a level of Michael Jordan, but he was Michael Vick. Everybody had a Michael Vick jersey to a degree. Right. He was Superman on the football field. And then he goes in and becomes involved with something that he shouldn't have been involved with, which was illegal dog fighting.
Yes.
And killing dogs inhumanely and all this stuff.
Well, the minute you get into dog fighting, there's no humane way. There's nothing like that was a mess. And you know what? He got what he deserved too. He got the appropriate sentence, and
he did.
And then he came back. He did his time and came back. And
no, he did.
And was never as good as he was because he lost his best years.
Well, and he did pretty good for a couple of teams. With the Eagles, he had a playoff run, and I mean, he was still Michael Vick, but who knows what he could have been if he doesn't go through that.
Oh yeah, he would have been. I don't think he makes the Hall of Fame now. You know,
No, I don't think he has the numbers for the Hall of Fame.
so like, and had that not happened, I honestly feel
Oh
like,
yeah, I mean he'd have been a first ballot Hall of Famer just like that.
yeah, like, but he didn't. He messed up, and I like that he got the sentence that he should have. And people get money and they lose their minds, but and Michael Vick got money and lost his mind. But what they talk about with Michael Vick is apparently he grew up dogfighting. It was like it was just something he always did, and I'm just like, yeah, it's a horrible thing. You should not do that. Why?
No, it is. It is. And I mean, it changed people's look at him, their outlook at who he was and what kind of person he was. And that's my entire point of this. And also, let's not leave out Lawrence Taylor, his substance abuse issues, and then having a 16-year-old prostitute in his hotel room.
Yeah,
I mean,
it just gets worse and worse and worse. And like, and Lawrence Hill, even after that happened, was still, I mean, to this day, so famous doing movies. He was in Waterboy. He was in, what was that horrible movie with Al Pacino? Any Given Sunday.
Yeah.
And that was after all that happened. People forgave him and let him come back. And I don't think they should. Once you make a mistake that bad, you it's just like Chris Brown still gets to tour.
Oh, and just beat the living hell out of Rihanna.
Like, come on, man. You can't do that. You know?
I mean, what kind of look is that for how people perceive how you treat women? You have a lot of people that look up to you, and you do that. And I mean, I'm not saying that everybody that listens to his stuff goes out and commits domestic violence, but it's not a good look for sure.
Yeah.
And I want to say this too, is we've all done stuff that we haven't got caught for. God knows. I mean, it is what it is. It's called life.
Right.
But we've all made mistakes. But I mean, the fact is that it's it's a tough thing to do a podcast and talk about. But the fact is, though, that I mean, I don't know. We're human beings and we all make mistakes. But to this level, what happened, and back to Brett Favre to do what he did and to affect how many people out there that he affected and how many people didn't eat because what he did. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah, and he's a scumbag. He doesn't deserve.
And to refuse to pay the money back.
Yeah.
I mean, to refuse to pay. Okay, he paid the 1.1 million back, but he refused to pay the interest that the auditor had put on it, because just because he was paying the money back doesn't mean that during that time there's interest, because people need that money.
Yeah, I mean, it's just short version. Wow. And honestly, can we have a vote to remove these people from the Hall of Fame? Can we just remove them from their pedestals? Like, they don't deserve it. They shouldn't be on there. Like, let's.
The Hall says, well, all of them say their actions. Now, Barry Bonds is not getting the same look, and the others in baseball, their Hall of Fame, you'll never be able to figure out how the hell they decide who goes in and who doesn't. But yeah, I mean, there should be some kind of conduct and character that keeps you out of the Hall of Fame if you commit so many kind of acts of absolute violence and all kinds of stuff. So it is a very, very complicated situation. And again, you root for somebody, you cheer for them, you fall in love with their story. The thing about being a human being is being motivated by other people that you can relate with. And how many people, I mean, did Brett Favre grow up rich? Absolutely not. He grew up very, very, I guess you'd say humbly in right on the Louisiana Mississippi line off the ocean. So he busted his tail. He had such a great story, and now you can't look at him the same anymore. I
No,
can't.
you really can't. It's what he has done has made it impossible to look at him the same way, and he's got to pay that price. And yeah, I mean, there's just nothing good to say about Brett Favre anymore. Like, there's nothing. And I wasn't a giant Green Bay fan to begin with, but I always respected what he did. It was always fun to cheer for him, just like last year was fun to cheer for Cincinnati, and for
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
But if something like this came up about either one of them, I'd be like, oh well, huh? No, they should all be fired if they're still active players, and not allowed to come back. And legacy's destroyed. And I don't think anybody that's not a diehard Green Bay fan is going to look back on Brett Favre and go, oh yeah, that was a good thing.
Well, it's like Superman saving a bank from being destroyed by a bomb or something, and then robbing the bank.
Superman wouldn't do that. Maybe Spider-Man.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. Maybe Spider-Man? Isn't that a shot at Spider-Man?
It was a shot at Spider-Man, but hey, he's good at shooting web, so he can take it.
All right.
All right. Yeah. I don't know. Brett Favre's a scumbag. That is my final statement about this at this point. Like, I think that pretty much sums it up too. Brett Favre robbed poor people. He is a scumbag.
Well, I think in the statement too is that where does your fandom go above your morals? Does your fandom, does your fanaticism for, that's a good word by the way, your fanaticism is so big, does it overwhelm your morals and the way you look at the world and how you want people to treat you? Do we forget that? Do we look the other way when people commit such an atrocity like what he's done and some of these other players have done? Do we look the other way because what it does is it makes us question who we are as a person? Because let's be honest, even with me, my love for football is unhealthy. Probably, I love it so much I don't even know how to describe it, and I have to look in the mirror and say to myself, is my love for the sport and sports in general greater than the morals that I have as a person? And if you have to kind of wonder about that, if it's a muddled line, then you're very confused as a person.
And that's the beauty of it. Like I said earlier, like Tennessee signed a player like this, it was not even a question for me. I would no longer be a fan.
Talking about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. Or if like some reason they want to hire Brett Favre as a coach, like I'm done. Nope. I can say that, and it would be hard for me because, like I said, God, that's Tennessee Titans at this point been since I was 17 years old, and we won't discuss how old I am now. So. It would be a big change in my life, but I couldn't do it. I could not cheer for a team. Once the Watson plays, I don't know how anybody cheers for the Browns. I don't. Scumbag.
Right.
And I can understand once he leaves, coming back as a fan. Once they remedy that situation, I can understand that. But anybody who wants to be a fan of them right now, I don't understand. And I'm not trying to be a dig on you because I realize you're a giant Browns fan, being from that state at one point. But it's just a mess. And the people who are running these teams need to look at what they're doing to their fan base, because you can't tell me the Browns didn't lose a ton of fans because of this.
You know what though, honestly, being in that fan base, I don't know if they really did, to be honest with you.
There had to be some people.
There's always some people, but I'm saying I think a majority of the fans have stuck with them.
Honestly, side topic here, I don't know how anybody be happy with them, what they did to Mayfield. Mayfield gave you guys the best years you've had in forever and played an entire season hurt just to try to make it even better, and then they did that to him?
Well, I had inside sources too that I'm not going to give out, but he was a complete drama queen. He was a big problem in the locker room.
Okay, but they still could have a little bit better, treated him a little better for what he did for them. Like,
well, when you come out and you're on social media, like everybody is now to a degree, you come out there and you give an ultimatum to your team that you better trade me. Then, I mean, these days it's all about face. It's all about Facebook. It's all about Instagram, Twitter. And you go out there and you put your team on blast and you tell them that you want to be traded. I mean, a lot of people can't overlook that.
Yeah, and that's what happened. So,
well, with that being said, and here we are.
and here we are.
Podcast is off and running, and I think this was a great conversation. And again, this is a podcast. We're just talking about situations. It might have come out the wrong way when I mentioned Ray Lewis. Nah. I'm just saying is involved in, and it probably, again, I might have not thought about it because I'm looking down and reading, but no, I'm not saying Ray Lewis is guilty, but you're involved in kind of situations like this, and you see a lot of people late at night at clubs and things. And I was a bouncer in Nashville back in the day. You're at clubs, and there's nothing good that can really happen after a certain time of night. It's just the truth.
Yes, it is.
So, with that being said, thanks everybody for listening. Remember, check out all the episodes, all the podcasts. Chris is going to be putting up more and more of his reviews. I guess that's what you would call it.
You know what? That was a good movie. I love Thor and Love and Thunder. And I'm going to be watching Hocus Pocus too. I'll be talking about that one next weekend.
Okay. Well, there you go. And he's going to have more and more stuff going on. Remember, folks, we're now on Audible. We're on Amazon. Are they the same?
Pretty much.
Okay. Well, we're on Audible, Amazon. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google, every platform that is used in podcast. We are there, unless it's like North Korea or Afghanistan. We are not connected to them, but
I don't know. We might be at this point.
You know, in North Korea, you can basically say, hello, great leader. Bad America. That's about all you can really say there. So your podcasts in North Korea aren't very long unless you're talking about over and over about how great the leader is, great leader.
Do you know why he doesn't golf, right?
Why?
Because the first time he golfed when he was 9, he hit 18 holes in one and didn't find it challenging anymore.
Oh, my God.
That's actually what they put out, by the way. That's an official North Korean story. That's real.
That is not propaganda. That is the truth.
That's what they tell everybody.
Man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. You'll hear more of that and more from me, Jason E. Jones, and Chris Allen. And this is our first episode of And Here We Are on the Jason E. Jones podcast. We'll see you next time. Have a great day, morning, noon, night, whatever, and go USA.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show wherever you're listening to this show. If you're listening to the Chris Allen Show, awesome. If you're listening to the Jason E. Jones Show, even better. We look forward to bringing you more contact. And if you want to help us out with that, you can hit us up at www.patreon.com/worstjokes and help fund the show. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at cman234 at Twitter, at Twitter, at cman234 at Twitter. You can find on Facebook, the Chris Allen Podcast. You can find Jason on Facebook, the Jason E. Jones Podcast. You can also find him on Twitter, too. Just search for the Jason E. Jones Podcast, and you'll find him. We're all there. We're all here for you. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to an email at asktheangryninja@gmail.com. You want to be on the show, reach out, hit us up. We'll get you on the show, interview. You want to come tell a joke, tell a joke. We're all here. If you have an outrageous story, I'd love to hear it. We'll put that up too. So just let us know. And if you have anything you want to hear, let us know. Twitter is the best way just to let you know. So everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day. Talk to you later. Bye.